Chapter 10 The Great Traveler. It's an early morning in the city. A large river powerfully carries its transparent waters to the sea. Granite quays in this hour are still deserted. Light mist moves slowly over the calm surface of water. Above the river, wide-winged seagulls hover and remind with their exclamations the open sea spaces. This is the place of our meetings with Odin in the city. He called me to meet him here, and I have come. The border of his immense immaterial body from the light on this place is very clear. Crossing it, I as if leave the world of matter and enter a space where there is only God. He meets me, showing himself as not only love, but vastness and power of his divine majesty. I asked, "Will we finish reading down the Saga today, Odin?" Do not overstep me, wanting to know how ended the story of Olaf. Let me tell you everything as I have planned. He plunged me into the silence, from which, like waves, began to rise his words. Look around and into the depths. Cognize me in all, in everywhere. See how I live in my creation as gentle love, penetrating into everything. See, there is only the life of God in the universe. And this life is present in everything. In a blade of grass, in granite rocks, in hovering seagulls, in people who make their ways along the land. And righteous souls grow, transforming themselves into subtle love, in order to comprehend the bliss and power from mergence with all creating divine love. Loving all them, guarding, correcting wisely the wayward, I am waiting for the worthy in the primordial house, where all the accomplished are the one ocean of the Creator, where all are one in Him. For a long time, Odin's words were framed only by transparent silence. After a while, I asked, "Tell me, Odin, what can we change in this world?" Little. But nevertheless, you can teach people to smile instead of frowning and blaming others. Trying to find or invent their shortcomings, you can teach them cordial relationships to those who are around to help others. You can explain how harmful and destructive it is for them to hate, envy, be jealous. You can try to teach people to reduce fear towards their life and appreciate the amazing possibilities of transforming themselves and the world around. God is near and is ready to give to everyone who deserves it and wants it the helping hand. You can let people know that all the thoughts and emotions of a person are like an open book, which God reads very easily and nothing is nor can be hidden from his omniscience. You can teach people to observe the manifestations of the divine in their lives, and more. It is necessary to explain that everyone should try to not harm anyone or break harmony. And this is so simple. You can give a key that opens the door of the spiritual heart. It is the open and correctly developing spiritual heart that allows one to learn to see and hear God, and in the future directly receive His guidance in life. That's how Olaf lived, helping people cognize the truth about God. One who has cognized the truth directs the growth and development of other souls. This is the work of God, who works being incarnate on the earth. How much can God do living in a body like the body of an ordinary person? Many times the divine souls came to the earth to bring the truth to people, but divine knowledge does not last long in undistorted purity. Not many people are usually able to understand the depths of the teachings and can reach the abode of all the perfects under the guidance of the great teachers. So many years have passed, and people have long forgotten the story of the merchant Olaf and his wife Annika. Generations have changed. The great-grandchildren of those who were their contemporaries already became adults and raised their children. But the great traveler walked along the land. His greatness was revealed only for few people. His clothes were simple. The hooded cloak covered his body from winds and bad weather. It also served as a bed. The traveler did not have a sword or bow. Only a staff and knife on the belt were useful on the way. He had two companions, a white wolf named Triagvi, which means the faithful, and a raven named Alvis, that means wise. Many years ago, the traveler picked up this fledgling of a raven and cured his broken wing. And he rescued a white wolf cub from a trapping pit. Both the rescued became for a long time companions in the wanderings of the traveler. And his life was much greater than the duration of mortal age. He walked on the land with a body like the body of an ordinary man. White as snow, curly hair to the shoulders, a white beard, a young man's carriage, and a light step, powerful shoulders, and the hands of a mature husband, full of unprecedented strength. Also, the radiant look of a man who perceives what is happening in the world from the great divine depths. The raven flew high in the sky and sometimes spoke something to Olaf in soft guttural cries, and Olaf understood its language. It was possible to think that the raven sees further, but it was not so. No matter how far Alvis soared in the sky, Olaf saw further. The radiant image from the light with the face of Olaf covered him in space, rose into the sky, pierced space in all directions with the streams of divine power, as if there was no earthly firmament. It proceeded from the depths into which small souls do not look. And any corner of the earth could be seen by the traveler. He could know all that he needed about every soul. All that was required was easily revealed in the gaze of the divine soul. It could be thought that the tremendous wolf, Triagvi, serves as a reliable protection for the relatively unarmed wanderer. But the power of Olaf was another. It proceeded via the ocean of the divine power, which gives the right to the lords of power to use it in accordance with the great united will of all the perfects. Olaf used to be a wanderer who bypassed the land and brought order where his intervention was appropriate. He used to be such that any creature could be perceived by him as clearly as he perceived himself. He could feel the growth of a small blade of grass, the inviolability of granite cliffs, and the tranquility of power trees. And he saw and felt every man clearly. As soon as he directed the gaze of the soul, he could know his or her thoughts, emotions, the past of this soul, and the possible future. But he remained one with the almighty ocean of love, wisdom, and power, which begot and sustains the manifested life in the universe. Olaf became one of the lords of the universe. He supported individual lives on the earth with his love and power. The force emanating from the great depths where there was only the ocean of God that could not be divided. Olaf looked at everything from these depths. He had to only stretch out his hand, and on his palm he could feel both the vessels in the stormy or calm sea and the towns with many people inhabiting them, and the forests and seas with their inhabitants. There were no boundaries to his omnipresence. The wisdom of God was at his disposal, and any knowledge he could draw from this source of wisdom. His every word or action achieved the goal. Therefore, he did not speak unnecessary words and did not perform actions without need. Olaf has already brought to the divine harbor many of his friends. They were now with him together in the great house of the primordial, and they too now executed their work to help people, both in northern and southern countries. Rune was among them. Many poets and scalds heard at the moment of inspiration his words coming to them from the light. Beautiful was the departure from the earthly life of the great Skald, who lived the life of courage and brilliance. When the impaled with a narrow body of Rune lay on the fire hands of Olaf, and the soul plunged into the primordial source of divine light, people saw a blissful smile on the lips of the abandoned body. And they were surprised, and Rune entered his new divine life. Olaf and many others welcomed his glorious victory, by which human life can be completed. For a long time already in the country, called Gardarika, Annika regained the new body and grew up. Her name was new, and her fate was beautiful. Many gods took care of her growth. Olaf loved to be by soul with her. He patiently waited for the onset of the time when she would gain all the fullness of the divinity by her efforts on the great path and fulfill all that was planned for her. He was waiting for the moment when he could introduce her as soul who has achieved the divine house and say, "Hello, my beloved. You've come. You are accepted." And many others of Olaf's friends still continued their path, incarnating into new bodies to acquire and develop love, wisdom, and power that would allow them to overcome the distance separating man from the world of the divine. This distance is calculated not by miles, but by the degree of subtlety, beauty, and strength of the transforming soul. Among those going to the light, it was joyful for Olaf to see his companions, who were comrades in his former distant voyages. Among them were Richard, the helmsman, Bagni, his brave wife, and many others. Olaf managed to stop many people of vice on their false way, change their sad fates, give them the right understanding and a chance to straighten their destinies. Many new male and female disciples have been found by him over the past centuries. The divine traveler could enter any house on the earth. He was met in different ways, and the fates of those people change according to whether they rejected or accepted the gifts of love and wisdom that the divine guest presented them. Early spring, the children Eric and Frida carried a bucket of water from a stream along an icy path. The children were small. The boy was about 6 years old and his sister no more than 5. The bucket was heavy. They often slipped. Then the ice water splashed out and burned with its cold. Finally the children stopped to rest. Suddenly, a huge white wolf emerged from behind the trees. "What a big dog!" exclaimed Frida. Eric, guessing that it's a wolf, hugged his sister, shielding her with himself. Following the wolf, the traveler in a cloak with a hood came out of the forest. "Do not be afraid. It's a friend and will not harm you," the traveler said to the children. The white wolf ran up and began to lick with his warm tongue children's frozen hands. The stranger, too, came closer. "Will you let me help you in carrying this bucket?" "Yes, sir," Eric answered. "Then show the way." Eric walked in front. Behind him, patting the wolf, was Frida. Next, the stranger with the bucket, and above them flew a raven. When they came to the house, the wolf already was lying at the threshold, and the raven perched on the roof. The boy opened the door. "Welcome to our house, sir." We always welcome guests, he pronounced apparently, often hearing before from the parents these words. Then, already inside the house, he continued with embarrassment. Forgive us for the cold. And there's almost nothing to treat you. Father has not come back from the trip for a very, very long time. Mother is sick. She's asleep already for 3 days. We cannot wake her. And the firewood is finished. And brushwood burns very quickly and provides almost no heat. Eric put the thin icy twigs in the cold stove, but could not ignite it. The guest put the bucket on the floor in the indicated place, went to the stove, and a bright, strong flame flared up, as if there was an armful of dry firewood. Meanwhile, Frida put on the table the cups and the rest of the dry barley flat cake on the plate in the middle. Guest said, "I'll try to wake up your mother." He walked over to the couch on which the body of the children's mother lays motionless and sat on the edge. "Wake up, Solveig," he called a woman by name which none of the children pronounced. "Come back. You have good children, they need you." Solveig took a deep breath and opened her eyes. Then she got up on the bed, looking with joyful surprise at the stranger. "Who are you who dwells in the worlds of the other side of death as freely as gods?" "I thought I was dead." "Friends usually call me Olaf," the guest answered. "Let's go to the table, Solveig. Your children are hungry." Olaf took his canvas bag and began to take off, out of it, different treats and laid them out on the table. Warm and soft bread, butter, cheese, honey, nuts, and dried fruits. All this could not fit in a small bag if one were to try folding it back. After a meal, Frida asked, "Can I feed your friends and companions, sir?" Olaf smiling aloud, and the children treated Triagvi and Alvis, and they then participated in children's games. In the evening, when Eric and Frida were already asleep, Solveig asked, "How can I thank you for the return to life in this body? You saved more than one life, but 3. My children would not survive." "Your gratitude will be simple. I will teach you something from the sacred divine knowledge, which is useful to everyone. And you teach your children, for they in turn will teach their children and other people how to live in accordance with the divine will. There is a holy source of love that every person has. This is the spiritual heart. To awaken this source is the task for you. And you can help many people to realize this. It is easy to teach the heart of the mother to love all the creatures of God. Just as a mother loves her children, so God loves his own. But God's children cannot be counted, because all are children to him. And just as a good mother cultivates goodness in children and suppresses bad inclinations, so God brings up souls. Your already developed by you maternal love will help you to cognize the greater love that can grow up to union with the love of God. What do you need to do for this? If by the same love which you love your children, you will learn to love all kind beings, then love will grow in your spiritual heart, and it will multiply with each passing day. Not one day Olaf was staying at Solveig's house, because it would be wrong to return the soul into the body without changing much in it, without teaching the soul the main thing. And only when Solveig's heart had found the firm support in God, Olaf continued his path. In the middle of the rich settlement, there was a tavern. Its visitor sipped a foamy beer and discussed the latest news. A stranger in a cloak with a hood entered quietly, and no one would pay attention to him, except for his companions, a huge white dog resembling a wolf, and a raven sitting quietly on his shoulder. Visitors to the tavern began to laugh and joke. Yeah, is that not Odin himself looking here to drink a beer? No, Odin's cloak should be blue, and the hat pointed. And more, Odin is one-eyed. Also the wolves must be two, and the ravens also two. If you will drink more, you have a split of both raven and wolf. After these words, they forgot about the stranger, who found a place in the distance and did not order beer. The fun of several drunken visitors turned into a quarrel. They used fists. The fighters overturned the table, and all the food scattered on the floor. From the far corner of the inn, an old beggar man stood up. He survived, gathering scraps, sometimes remaining after the visitors. He walked over and bent down to pick up the fallen bread, before the ruffians trampled with their feet. But the quarrels sharply turned their attentions to the pure. Off you, ragamuffin! Let me eat this bread. You will not eat it any more, and the servants will throw it away, sweeping the floor. We paid for this food, not you. But however, eat, pig. And they, with a laugh, kicked and knocked the old man off his feet, so that he fell face down on the scattered food on the floor. This sight caused a roar of laughter in all visitors of the inn, except for the traveler with a wolf and a raven. Olaf watched sadly. Olaf stroked his companions, giving them permission to act. A huge wolf rushed at those who mocked the pure old man, baring its white teeth, and the raven attacked from above, threatening to peck their eyes. Take those creatures away, in horror screamed those who started the quarrel, but Olaf was not in a hurry to recall his assistants. The old man quickly picked up the bread, got up and walked away. And Tryggvi and Alvis started to eat, scattered across the floor. And until their dinner was over, those who beat the old man could not move, because when they made the slightest movement, the wolf bared his teeth, turning his head in their direction, as if warning, just try to move, and you will be the continuation of our dinner. And the raven confirmed it with menacing cries. Only when Tryggvi and Alvis have finished all the food, they turned to Olaf. The innkeeper resented everything that was happening with the great delay. Remove those monsters, sir. Here needs order to be reestablished. They did not violate the order. They just restored it. The floor is clean. The fighters are punished. The old man took bread. If you tell to pour him a plate of soup, then I think the order will be quite complete. Olaf put the money for the old man's soup in front of the innkeeper and continued speaking. addressing everyone there. I came from far and saw here very strange rules, which you call the order. So many spectators oversaw what was happening. You laughed at the poor old man, and the food scattered across the floor. It is evident that life in abundance did not benefit the inhabitants of your village. Those who forget about hunger often do not appreciate the work invested in the nourished and cooked food. They easily throw out food, believing that having money they will buy again when they want to eat. They now do not think that it is a crime. Before those who suffer from hunger, some food thrown to the garbage could serve as someone's salvation. Think about what true order is. Otherwise, the fate of this old man can become your destiny too. Who among you wants to end life in lonely old age, hungry, poverty? No one? Then why, with indifference and laughter, do you look at what is happening before your eyes? But you can make life around more reasonable and more just. Each of you can do it, and the choice is yours. And Olaf, with his companions, the wolf and the raven, left the tavern. They say that those people have changed a lot since that time, and they did not laugh anymore at those who were in need. They began to take good care of food, and they were ready to help those who needed help. Even in that tavern, they now feed free of charge those poor people who could not afford to pay for food. At the campfires lay the bodies of warriors, wounded in battle. But they lay not only on the ground, but also on the hands of the physician, invisible to the ordinary sight, who took up from an unclear place and offered his help. It was said that a huge crowd, croaking, has brought this physician to a place where they were uncounted dead in battle, and where were suffering many injured which were between life and death. Olaf approached everyone in turn. To someone he has assisted, showing all the possibilities of divine healing. To others, in the most ordinary way, washed, treated, and bandaged wounds. And every time, healing the body, he found words that transform and heal souls. And after, he talked alternatively with the leaders of both troops and asked them questions to which they did not know the answers. What lessons do people learn from wars? Why do winners learn only pride, not compassion? Why only desire for revenge matures in the defeated and humiliated? Why do not see their own guilt those who allowed conflicts in interest of rulers to grow into bloody massacres for people? Why is the history of mankind measured mainly only by bloody wars, the change of rulers and redistribution of borders? When will at last those on whom this depends want to think about it? Many things have been done by Olaf. He helped many people. He generously shared the divine wisdom, and people got understanding to the extent that it was feasible for everyone. Olaf was able to help a person grieve and to heal the soul, resurrecting love and hope. He could reconcile enemies, stop the bloody vengeance. He always looked into the soul of the person and appealed to that bright and kind which was in everyone. He seemed to awaken the seeds of goodness that are latent in every person, but not all have risen. Freedom of choice always remained with the one who listened to Olaf. The listener could accept or not accept the truth. Long lived so on the earth Olaf. And then he left the body, which disappeared in the fiery flash in an instant. Now his work on the earth was to be continued by others. We sit side by side, I and divine Odin. Pages of an almost completed saga are in front of me. Odin sums up. Did Olaf manage to do much on the earth? The work of Olaf and many other divine souls has served to the fact that after the lapse of centuries, the formerly warlike tribes inhabiting the Scandinavian peninsula, many of them later fell in love with grazing herds and cultivated the land. And the land began to bring people rich harvests. And the one who grows a crop does not go on a military campaign in order to take away the fruits of labor from others. More and more places appear where the gardens blossom in the spring, and more often people went on the road in order to cognize new lands or peacefully trade. Christianity, adopted by these canons of these lands, was adapted by their subjects more voluntarily than in neighboring countries, and those who believe in Odin and the Torah, and those who delve into the teachings of Jesus peacefully lived here for a long time. Olaf was one of those who are always engaged in the great work of helping souls in their evolution. This is the work of the gods, which is not seen in the beginning and which has not end, because eternally wise divine souls helping growth and direct the development of all succeeding generations of people. And from each of these generations, few enter the divine unity. They are the harvest collected by the great gardener. Such continues the work of those who help people wisely and without violence, to know why they live on the earth and how to live.